Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and even though I'm in Texas, it is cold outside. And so while I was grabbing my coat and my scarf and all of this stuff to run to the office because my kids are learning at home with remote learning because of a cold weather day, and my wife is at home remote teaching, and it was getting pretty crowded, so I came up here to do some work. And when I did, I grabbed the things I thought I needed for today's review. And I was wrong, because even though I have an entire case, this is a whole case of pens, and I have this one that we're going to look at today, the one pen that I really wanted to review today, on the kitchen table. On the kitchen table, next to the box of other things that I also wanted to share with you today, along with a notepad I wanted to share with you today, and it's just kind of, it's one of those days. So let's redeem the time here and jump into this pen. This is the Hongdian 6013, and this was recommended by several of you in the comments on a review, I think, of the Black Forest and maybe of the Light of Hope pen, that you really like this pen. You will notice, sharp-eyed people, Faber-Castell fans will notice, that it is very similar in design to the Emotion pen, and it's definitely inspired by. There are some definite differences. Hongdian's put their own stamp on this, but inspired by at the very least. That is not actually the hangnail I have with this pen. I've had just a little bit of an issue with it that I want to share in the review. It writes well. We'll see that in the writing test. But there is a thing. And if you'll stick with me, I'll share with you that thing. And you can maybe correct me and say, James, I think that might be just your pen. Or you can tell me if this is something that is common with this particular Hongdian. I like the design overall, but there is a thing. So let's dive right in, flip that camera, and take a look at this pen. Okay, so the Hongdian 6013, as I mentioned, you can see by this clip, which is the spring-loaded clip. That seems like that's a little bit stiff. It is a lot like the Emotion. I find that the clip works just fine. Very, very similar shape. It has knurling here, a lot like the Hongdian Black Forest pens, series of pens now. They've come out with several colors. And it is basically the same finish as that black, really, on parts of it, black-brown pen. And so I found on my Black Forest pen that has held up really well. I love that pen. It is as good as the day I reviewed it, and just excellent, smooth writer. This pen has, again, the same finish, but just a very different design. It's probably a nicer pen for people who want something that's a bit larger in diameter than the Black Forest, which is a thinner pen. This is a, see there, a friction fit cap, and the finial, of course, is just a very, very simple. If I can get the camera to focus, you can see I have inky pens today, or inky fingers and inky pens. Very simple top of the cap and extra simple bottom of the barrel. Again, with this knurling in most of the barrel. Those of you who are car fans may notice, this is what I see. The very first year of the Infiniti Q45. That was an interesting car from Japan that was launched in America with a campaign that didn't actually work very well because they just showed you the car and scenes, and mostly just scenes. But the logo on the badge, on the grill of the original Q45, people referred to it as a belt buckle, and it had a similar design to what is on this pen. Every time I look at it, I see an Infiniti Q45 logo from the very first year. Anyway, very, very simple overall design. Of course, it's a bit of a mimicking design, except for this. That is unique to the Hongdian. You do have the model number, which is good for me because I keep forgetting the number of that, and Hongdian, their logo, and Hongdian on the band here. All of it, of course, in that finish. And then the section is a metal section, but it has a slight matte texture to it, and so I don't find it to be too slippery. It's works just fine. It's narrower than you would think for a pen of its girth here, but I find it to be comfortable pen to write with, and this is a nice step down. It doesn't go very far down at all, and so that's good and comfortable. I find the ergonomics to be fine, and for it to be a pretty well-balanced pen. You will notice that the nib, very, very similar, probably the same as what is on the Black Forest pen with that same finish. And so far on both pens, the finish is holding up well. Now, I've used the Black Forest far more than this one, but it doesn't look any worse for the wear. Typical plastic feed. It is very easy to disassemble, and I'll put a picture up here. As you can see, it just the nib and feed will just unscrew and pull out very simply, and you can take it apart. Very easy to do a thorough cleaning of this pen. Now, if we take the barrel off, then we will notice that it can take a while. And it does have, as Hongdian always does, a converter, and I find these to be good converters. Just a typical screw-on piston converter, but they function well. It does have an agitator and apparently a little bit of water from when I cleaned it, but it does have that spring agitator in there to help the ink keep moving in there. Overall, I like the pen, like the design. I like how they've differentiated it from that other pen. Anyway, I like the overall design. Let's see how this pen writes. Okay, so the pen does post. I didn't mention that, but it is a bit top heavy if you do that. So I'm going to write with this unposted, and then it has very, very nice balance. This is the Hongdian, and it is the 613. This is a fine nib. Now, you can get it in a bent nib and all that good stuff and an extra fine. But I really like Hongdian's fine nib, so that was what I ordered this in. And this is, I'm going to just put MV for Monteverde, and this is their brown sugar, as you can see on the bottle there. One of my favorite inks. Okay, well, I didn't write very well at the edge of the page, but it's brown sugar. Can you see that there? There you go. If you can't read my writing, you can read the label. I'm going to be quiet and do a little bit of observation of how this writes. This is on Rhodia paper. A little bit of a skip there. Seems like it's running just touch dry, or I may have. You can look at the video and see if that was me or the pen. And then let's see, because it writes actually pretty wet, so that might have been me. And it writes a nice fine line. It keeps up, I think, pretty well. But let me tell you about the issue that I've had. And that is that I find this pen dries out with inks that, for example, this one I usually don't have dry out problems. But this pen does dry out. And so I would ask those of you who have it to mention in the comments, is it a fluke? Is it, sometimes there's a quality control issue? Is it just, what or is it me? I wonder if this is a common issue or an uncommon issue. I don't want to say that it's all the pens when it may just be mine, or vice versa. So if you have the Hongdian 6013, do you have trouble with it drying out? My guess is that if it's a widespread problem, it may be the air that comes through this clip, because this is a hole. I did have one other problem with it, by the way, and I almost forgot to mention this. I had it in a carrying pouch in my pocket, and partly my fault and partly the pen's. I had it capped down. I didn't put it in. I would normally carry it with the cap up, obviously, and it leaked. And that was with a different ink, but it leaked, and it leaked out the opening here for the spring-loaded clip. and I don't know why that happened. It's the only time that it's happened with this pen. It's the only time it's happened with any pen that I've carried in my pocket. I've just not had pens leaking ink, and so I've not been confident to carry it again. And in that pocket, I would carry it in a shirt pocket. But because of that, I don't carry it in a pen pouch, and I'm careful about when I use it. I mainly just leave it here in the office. But I have trouble with it drying out, and I'm wondering if that is also because it's maybe getting too much air there. It's not sealed quite well enough. There is a plastic liner inside, so there's that, but it may not seal actually all that well. Anyway, if you have experience with that, then please let me know. If it's a pen you're using every single day and you're keeping it on your desk, then probably that's not going to be a problem. And if you don't put it in your pocket upside down, then it's not going to be a problem with that. Except that, again, I've had a lot of pens where I've accidentally done that, and I've had pocket pens that I carry every which way but loose, and they don't do that. So I just want to put that up front. Other than that, I like the design. I like the feel. It's a comfortable pen. The nib is great. No issues there whatsoever. Just, those caveats that I would let you know about. But again, if you're just leaving it here on the desk, none of those problems would have existed. None of them have existed here in the office except for the dry out. So there is that. I hope that you're doing well. If you are on the Gulf Coast and getting slammed by this Arctic weather and wet from the south, man, I'm praying for you and thinking about you, and stay warm and stay safe, and everybody else too. Thank you for watching, and like, share, and thank you so much for all of those likes and shares already, and subscribe to the channel. I will have the Pen BBS 469 out probably just in a few days. I'm not going to wait till next weekend. I want to catch up on that one. But God bless you. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next review.